This is Audi's latest generation A7, and there are some aesthetic changes, most notably the front grille and the front lights. There's also changes to the rear lights, and they have a whole host of new engines, but that's as much as I'm going to tell you now, because for the last few days I've been keeping a video diary. I just love getting into a brand new car, and this A7, oh my god, I'm like a bold child. Me and Kevin are the worst people to give new cars to. We get in and go, oh look at this, and shiny bits and pieces, and oh, we're just the worst. And oh, and you can tell that I drive a 08 Mazda 6, can't you? You don't hoosh your seat forward in an A7. Of course you don't hoosh your seat forward. Electric seats. Oh, yeah, you see. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you see? Yeah, that's a proper car. Right, well I have a jam-packed schedule full of meetings today, which requires me to go to Wicklow and South Dublin, which is going to be about a 250-kilometre round trip. And I'm going to need the A7 to perform sort of like a mobile office, which I'm sure a lot of you can probably relate to, but I'll tell you more about the characteristics of what I'm looking for when I'm in the car, because, as they say, time is money. I don't like wasting either of them, so let's get going on the road and see how the A7 performs. Right, well I didn't record it, but I can assure you that it's very easy to pair your phone to the A7's MMI system. Now I've done it loads of times before, but even if you've never done it before, I'm sure you'll find it very easy. There's two USB ports underneath here, so I'm charging my phone, and I'm going to make a phone call. The first is going to be to Kevin from Gasbag, just to test the line on it. Uncharacteristically slow to answer his phone.
No.
I'm just saying you're uncharacteristically slow to answer your phone to the camera.
I was watching something. I was watching some camera geek stuff.
Camera geek stuff, good. How's the line for you? I'm presently recording, talking about how good the sound insulation in the A7 is. Can you hear me clearly?
Sounds like you're sitting in your office.
Ah, well, there you go. I said I wanted this to be like a mobile office, and that's exactly what it sounds like. Okay, you've served a purpose. I shall talk to you later.
It's a very expensive mobile office.
Yeah, well, if you have it, why not? Right, well Kevin sort of threw a spanner in the works when he brought up the topic of price for the A7, and he mentioned that he thought it was an expensive mobile office. I wasn't intending talking about price until later on, but let's just tackle that and get it over and done with. Prices for the A7 start at just under €70,000, but if you want to get yourself a really nice one, like the one that I'm driving, you're going to have to spend €80,000. And for that, you'll get a 3-litre diesel V6 with Quattro 4-wheel drive, S-tronic gearbox, 272 brake horsepower with 580 newton meters of torque in S-line trim. That is a collection of words that describes a very beautiful car indeed. And when you compare it to its competitors, things like the Mercedes CLS or the BMW 6 Series Grand Coupe, if you were to put it on a like-for-like basis, bearing in mind that this one has 4-wheel drive where the others don't, you will find that the A7 compares very favourably indeed. So expensive mobile office, yes, if you're like me and you drive a Mazda 6, or Kevin and you drive a Skoda Superb Combi. Expensive mobile office if you have 80 grand burning a hole in your back pocket? I don't think so. I think it's probably worth it. Right, I'm currently wafting along at 110 kilometers an hour. I'm going to put it into cruise control, and I can tell you about how fuel efficient I'm finding the A7. I'm returning 6.5 litres per 100 kilometers. I'm at just over 1,500 revs, so the engine's purring along nicely. I can't hear a thing coming from the engine bay, and I'm in 7th gear. Now I have it in full auto. I haven't put it into sport. I can knock it into sport if I want, and that changes the gearing. And I can also knock it over into full manual and use the flappy paddles behind the steering wheel. But to be perfectly honest, I have too much on my mind. I want to just knock it back into drive, leave it in full auto, let the engine and gearbox do all the thinking for me, so I can concentrate on the meetings that I have to go to, arrive with a fresh head. Right, I've just arrived home from my day's work, and the A7 performed flawlessly. There was one thing that I did notice though. When I push it on quite a bit and I'm really driving it hard, I feel that the steering doesn't weight up quite as much as I would like it, but that's a subjective thing. That's just a preference of mine. I like a good heavy steering wheel, but have to say when you're getting in and around tight parking spaces, it is very easy to maneuver for such a large car. Other than that, it was flawless, easy to live with. I've arrived home after a full day's work and I'm not tired, so I'd consider that a success. Right, well, it's a pretty grey day out there, but thankfully the roads are very quiet because Ireland is playing against Italy in the rugby, and that means that Rob Kearney, one of Audi's brand ambassadors, is out of the country. So I can say this: while he might be taller, broader and more athletic than I am, and let's face it, he's more handsome too, I reckon I'm a better driver than he is. So let me take the A7 out of comfort, which is one of Audi Drive's select modes, put it into dynamic. That's going to weight up the steering, quicken up the throttle response, and it's going to just keep the car more level in corners. I'm going to take it out of drive mode in the transmission and put it into sport, put the foot down and see how it performs. That is a frantic turn of pace. Right, it's early on a Sunday morning. Apologies for holding the camera, but I wasn't intending filming today because I was planning on taking a bit of a day off. But I play golf every Sunday and I've arrived up to the golf course and it doesn't seem to be open for at least another hour. So I may as well take the opportunity to show you the size of the boot in the A7. It's not enormous, it's pretty narrow, but it is quite deep. So what I've had to do is drop one of the seats flat so I could get my golf bag in. And I have my gear bag and my electric trolley here. And then I have my shoes and my wheels in a bag there. I mean, I've just dumped all of that stuff in. So if I wanted to accommodate a second golfer, I really could let all the seats flat, get two golf bags in, and then the rest of the gear. I think a third golfer would probably be pushing it. But as far as 5-door coupes go, I reckon that's pretty practical. Right, well, as much as it pains me to say it, I am on my way over to Kevin's to give him the keys to the A7 so that he can drop it back to Audi tomorrow. So this is my last diary entry, and I am genuinely very upset. As you can probably well imagine, driving around in an A7 for a week, it leaves a bit of an impression on you. But let's just do a quick recap so that you can get a better idea of what it's like to have an A7. Engine, 3-litre diesel, V6, 272 brake horsepower, 580 newton meters of torque. You could get used to that, couldn't you? I could get used to it. And having spent 80 to 85,000 euros, call it 85,000 euros for this particular one with all the bells and whistles, the MMI screen, MMI touch, sat nav, everything. Is it really value for money? Well, as much as it might sound strange, I can make a more convincing argument, I think, that the A7 is better value for money at its price than some family saloons are at their price at 30 to 35,000 euros. I mean, it doesn't sound right, does it? But there's an exception to every rule, and the Audi A7 is one such exception.